Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm back from my vacation for about a week and a half. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much. You can pretty much punch through the major charts here. Generally talk about Bitcoin, Coinbase, MSTR, MicroStrategy. And so some of your favorite miners. Going to talk about all of them, and I'm going to do it as efficient as I can. This is the daily chart of Bitcoin. I have something called a Gann square being drawn here. Is really based on trying to pick a very important pivot point and trying to figure out using a number of parameters I generally use. In this particular case, I used 720 and 100. I've had this chart up for the last couple of months now. I really haven't changed anything at all. And it really has shown me some really great market symmetry where price just kind of stuck between these two arcs for about many months, for about 6-7 months or so. Eventually was able to break through the upper arc here, back tested it, and it just kind of went insane, broke through this arc here like it's nothing, and right now we've reached to the arc here above. Now you just kind of zoom in here a little bit, you can see that currently it's made its way inside the arc, and when it made its way inside the arc, it opens up for a possibility where it can kind of get stuck inside the arc here for a little bit, and maybe hopefully we're able to use this angle here as support and just kind of push up a lot higher. If we end up breaking down underneath this angle and the low arc over here, then we can possibly talk about price going back down to 89,500. That's always a possibility. But I think just because it's got a lot more confluent zone support over here, I think that the support zone over here would probably end up holding. And I think the angle is probably going to serve as momentum, kind of sling price a lot higher. Now, if you're looking at the daily chart, you can see that, hey, this bull trend looks a little bit exhausted. It looks like it's going to try to roll over here a little bit, right? There's also another thing to kind of, confirm that, because RSI has really been showing you some bearish divergence building up here. Now, whenever you have some bearish divergence building up here, sometimes you do need a little bit of corrective move a little bit further before you can go up higher because of bearish divergence. For example, like over here, price kind of going up, but RSI didn't really do anything. A little bit of relative bearish divergence, and price end up going down here, as a result. But it doesn't always have to work out that way, right? It doesn't always have to work out that way, because sometimes price just doesn't care about bearish divergence. It just kind of want to go higher. For example, over here, you have price kind of going up like this. Look, a little bit of exhausted move. RSI went down, had a lot of bearish divergence here. Didn't care, just pushing up, another leg up higher anyway. So I don't really think that the bearish divergence here, necessarily have to work out. I actually think there's a lot more confluent support zone over here on the Gann, and it could actually just push price up a lot higher, and probably have to redraw this daily Gann chart here at some point, because I think it's probably going to run out of room here in a little bit. Now, you look at a weekly time frame. I have another Gann drawn here, and this Gann is drawn 360 and 500 using a different pivot point, which is the cycle bottom. You can see that this also has given you some really remarkable symmetry here. Basically, it's been testing angle and arc. Each of these angle, arc, and horizontal line means something, right? We're able to push through one level after another, back test them as support. And right now we're hitting another boss over here, which is the arc up here. Around 102, 103,000 or so. Finding resistance here is expected. Does it have to go sideways or come back down, test the angle? No, not necessarily. I think sometimes you just kind of hover up around this level. I can totally see it potentially just pushing inside the arc and just kind of consolidate sideways here in the arc for a few weeks or a couple of months or so, before pushing up higher to the next level. Or you can just kind of push through the next level and just keep going up. I don't think it necessarily has to correct sideways for that long, because we're already done that. I don't think we actually necessarily have to come back down, back test some of the lower levels down below, because we're already done that here. So I think at this point it might be a very similar situation over here as we were over here, where we might be just kind of hovering around here underneath the arc here, and eventually going to push inside the arc, maybe consolidate sideways here for a few weeks here. We consolidate for about a couple months. I think it's entirely possible for it to kind of go inside the arc here, consolidate here a little bit, push through, and then go up to the next level, which is going to be, like 170. But there needs to be some kind of consolidation here. If it doesn't push through, then the cycle is over, right? But if it does push through, and it pushes through both the arc over here, which is going to be less than 110K, and it pushes up here, which basically means the price is going to get above like 120K, then you're talking 170K being the next level. Now, in addition to the arc over here as resistance, are we experiencing any other source of resistance here at this level? Why did we get rejected? Well, Very, very simple. If you simply do a Fibonacci level, you use a if you use a log Fibonacci level here, you can see that price has kind of got really close to 1.236. Initially got rejected here right at 1.236, and I'm gonna see whether or not it got if I do 1.272. You can see that price has basically got rejected right off of the 1.272, right at the bottom of the arc over here, right? So these are all expected technical things that it's doing. Now, I don't think it necessarily has to come back down all the way down to backtest some of this stuff. I think it probably just can hover around here. Very similar saw over here as opposed to over here, I think. It's probably going to push through, get inside the arc, and probably going to consolidate the arc here a little bit. Maybe also, claim the 1.272 from resistance here to support, back tested it for a little bit, and then push through to the next level, right? In this particular case, I think that if it's able to push through that, then you're talking about the horizontal gain around 118K, and the 1.414 is going to be 128K. After that, you're really talking about the 1.618 up here, which is going to be right around the arc up here, which I think is going to hit this cycle. What happens after that? I don't know. We'll see how far it gets there. We'll see how powerful it gets there. And we see how it reacts when it gets there, right? But that's, in a nutshell, that's Bitcoin for you. As far as I'm concerned on the monthly chart, I actually think that the next level that it should hit is really around like 200, which is right around the, again, horizontal line over here. You can see how it kind of hit up here during the cycle. And here it kind of got close to the arc here, really pushed, quite pushed through. Here we pushed through the arc, back test the arc here for about 6 months. And now it looks like the next natural level would be up here, around the Gann horizontal here, around 200. So 175 to 200, that might be a good area where the cycle might end. But it might also go a lot higher. There's no guarantee that that's going to be it. There's no guarantee it's going to get there. There's also no guarantee that it's going to be it. Because pretty much every single Bitcoin cycle over the last couple at least, during the bull trend, you really have a very explosive move on the way up. And I think we're building up a very explosive move up, because we're starting to have the upper Bollinger Band expanding upside, lower Bollinger Band expanding to the downside. And the 20-month moving average initially was a little bit flattening, but now it's re-accelerated to the upside. So a lot of things are telling me I think that we are going to have some bullish continuation. I think that there's going to be some pretty impulsive price action over the next 3, 4, 5 months or so. It's probably going to end up pushing a Bollinger Band up and down is probably going to go all the way down to the negatives like it always has during the exponential phase of the bull cycle. From the previous 2 cycles over here that you can see, right? So I don't think we've really had that happening yet for Bitcoin. I think that is still to come, and I think it's going to do pretty decent here moving forward. Now, if you're talking about MicroStrategy, that's a little bit of a different story. I do want to keep in mind in terms of what I think about what MicroStrategy is doing. First of all, you do have to take into consideration in terms of the Fibonacci levels that so far Bitcoin is hitting, right? You remember I was saying that it got rejected here at the 1.272, right? MicroStrategy is a little bit different. MicroStrategy actually has pushed through the, and it's not even the level I'm showing here. It's pushed through the 1.272 like it's butter. It kind of stopped here for the month of October, but it just pushed through like it's butter, right? Went up to really to the next level up here around the 1.414, also pushed through like butter here as well. You got right to the 1.618 level over here, and that's when you're really seeing some pretty significant resistance here up around that level, right? If you look at the weekly, you can see how these Fibonacci levels have been very important, right? Rejected right there, pushed through, left the gap open down here. A lot of people think that we had to come back down, close the gap. I don't think it's necessarily the case. The gap's going to be closed if price goes back down to like 280.80. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the case. Whenever price got up here, I thought it was going to get rejected. I didn't know how far it's going to go down, and I didn't really want to sell it here and try to buy lower because I don't know where it's going to buy lower. Am I going to wait for the gap? Am I going to wait for 1.414? Whenever price came down to 1.414, I call that this is probably going to be where it bounced. It bounced very, very hard. Got a very nice wick over here. And so for last week, basically just a doji candle indecision. You know why things are having a hard time pushing a lot higher? Well, because it's got a Bollinger Band problem a couple of weeks ago. It's just simply way outside the upper Bollinger Band, way too far stretch, it looks like it wanted to go higher, but it just couldn't because of the Bollinger Band. So what did it do? Well, at least we didn't really close way outside the upper Bollinger Band over here because we got up getting punched for a very long time. We still ended up touching the upper Bollinger Band, and right now we're close to a week under the upper Bollinger Band here again, which tells me that we're not really any, that significantly overextended here anymore on the weekly time frame. Now, on the monthly time frame, that's a little bit of a different story. I do think that on a weekly time frame, it looks like it could be ready to go soon, but I think it probably will end up consolidating sideways here between the 1.414 and the 1.618, which is going to be around between $340 and $339. Sorry, $540 and $338. Probably going to range bound here for another couple of weeks at least. And I think that there's also a possibility for it to come back down and close the gap still. There's always that possibility because the monthly upper Bollinger Band, it could end up, kind of wigging down below that a little bit. Now, the interesting thing here is that could we come back down, back test to 1.414 here for the month of December? The answer is yes. There's always a possibility for it to come back down, back test to 1.414 here again. That's what I'm saying is range bound. If it hits that again, I think it's going to be a good buying opportunity over there. Again, not financial advice, it's just kind of what I'm seeing. If it hits over there, because it's going to be a support zone here on the weekly, and on top of that is also going to be where the upper Bollinger Band is located right there. If it comes back down, all is saying that, I'm just overextended, I need to come back and tag it and touch it before I can go higher. It looks like it wants to go higher still, because the lower Bollinger Band on the monthly here for MicroStrategy is still extending to the downside, which is an extremely bullish trend. But we have a Bollinger Band problem, which is the reason why MicroStrategy is not going up higher. Now, I think that the whole MicroStrategy trend is really starting to get a little bit more exhausted. Reason why I say that is because if you look at the Bollinger, not just the Bollinger Band is saying that we have room to go up higher because it's re-expanded to the downside. But if you look into RSI, we're starting to see a little bit of signs of trend exhaustion here, which we're not seeing with Coinbase. We're not really seeing on miners, but we're really seeing a trend exhaustion where you're having the price going up higher, but RSI is saying the same, right? So relatively, you got a little bit of bearish divergence over here that's been telling you, hey, maybe we're starting to get a little bit exhausted here in MicroStrategy. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to keep going. I think price could potentially hit, the 2 level or even 2.272 level, especially if Bitcoin hits some of the higher levels up above around 175 to 200,000. I think it can hit up there, but I don't think it's going to make that exponential gain all the way from like 12 to $13 all the way up to, like $500. I don't think it's going to do these kind of crazy moves anymore. I think it can go up for another 5-6x or something like that. It's probably still got enough juice to kind of left for it to get up there. But I'm starting to see some exhaustion signs here, so I'm going to be a little bit more cautious in MicroStrategy. I'm not really going to add more to it anymore. In the long term, I don't know. I'm just kind of showing in like a cycle behavior. At some point, I think a trend has been very parabolic. I think the trend's going to get exhausted. I think people are getting trapped, and I think that it's good to be a little bit more cautious when you see a little bit of sign of exhaustion here. But do I think it's going to go up higher? Yes, I do have a small position in MicroStrategy. I'm going to keep it, right? Now, talking about the next stock here, which is Coinbase. Coinbase does not have Bollinger Band problem on the monthly. Coinbase does not have a Bollinger Band problem on the weekly. Weekly is got very, very nice expansion. Looks like once you continue to keep going out higher. Monthly has also got a very, very nice expansion on upper Bollinger Band. A little Bollinger Band probably needs a little bit more parabolic movements for you to push it a little down a lot further, which I think it will do. But so far, I'm very, very bullish. I was very bullish really around like October or so when I was seeing this kind of trident look to it. And sure enough, like November, you have this big giant bullish engulfing candle here. So that basically favors a lot of further bullish continuation. Right now, considering right now, completely honest, I'm still very bullish on Coinbase. I'm actually a lot more bullish on Coinbase than I am on MicroStrategy right around here where it is at, right? Got the Gann chart here, 316.5 is my settings, and you can see that this Gann has been pretty well respected over time here with all these arcs and angles here mean something, right? What's consolidating over here as a bull flag, it broke out of the bull flag to the upside because is that if we use this angle here as support, initially I thought there's always a possible chance where we kind of break down the angle and come back down, back test the lower arc over here, but it doesn't have to, because right now found support here. The arc broke through the arc over here pretty convincingly this past week, right? And that, to me, I think that the next level is going to be up here at the horizontal gain level around 360. That's going to be the next level. It's probably going to hit that. Doesn't mean you're going to build up another further, ascending triangle up here before breaking out to some of the higher levels, maybe. But this is a pretty good look for it right now. Looking at some of the Fibonacci retracement levels, if I just basically do from cycle high to cycle low, which is all-time high and all-time lows, I'm gonna add a fit level here, which is 0.86. If I add the 0.86, you can see how it was also confluent with the rejection level over here. Let's try and push through about the 0.86. It was unable to. Previous 3 weeks, right? Kind of consolidating sideways here. We're able to break above and close above. That to me, that means that higher levels are to come. If it's able to really break above the 0.86, now it could be a false breakout. We may end up breaking down underneath it next week. I really like to see 2 weeks close above the 0.86. If it's able to do that, then you're talking about 800, talking about 1,200, somewhere around there. I think some of these higher targets could potentially be hit, and I think that there's probably a lot more room for Coinbase to kind of go up compared to what MicroStrategy is doing right now at this stage of the market. If you're also looking at the RSI here too on the monthly, you can see there's not really any like bearish divergence here at all. Matter of fact, I think RSI on the monthly here is far from being overbought. It's only at 68. It's very, very far from being overbought. Whereas MicroStrategy was already in like the 80s, right? So there's potentially a lot more room for Coinbase to go up. I do have a position in Coinbase. I also have a position in the double leverage fund called COINL, CONL, and I'm going to keep holding on to it because I see some pretty bullish thing moving forward, and I'm not really, wanting to really take profits here anytime soon for COINL. Yeah, it's been a 17-minute video. I don't want to make these things too long, but why don't I just go for the miners here real quick, because a lot of people are probably interested in what I have to say about miners. And you probably don't mind. I'm going to do some timestamps for you, so don't worry. Now, looking at the CleanSpark chart here on the monthly, what problem does CleanSpark has? Well, CleanSpark does not have a Bollinger Band problem. Looks like a Bollinger Band is all the way around the 21 range, right? On the monthly here, on the weekly, it also doesn't have a Bollinger Band problem because it's not even really overextended at all, right? So what problem does CleanSpark has? Well, it has an Ichimoku cloud problem, because it has been trying to push about the Ichimoku cloud here for months. Had a lot of wicks trying to push through, but unable to, got exhausted, came back down from a very, very nice bottom over here. This is kind of like a trend, but not really. This is a very, very nice rounded bottom, a lot of wicks underneath below. That tells me I think we're going to push through the cloud. I think this have already been able to build up enough energy. I think we're going to push through the cloud this time, not like last time. And we had a little bit of a false breakout over here, but we're reclaiming the Tenkan, reclaiming the kitchen, the red and blue lines over here. And I think we're going to push through this time. And whenever it pushes through, I think, honestly, I think like $40 is going to be like the next level that CleanSpark is going to hit. That's what I think. Now, on the weekly, CleanSpark also has a weekly Ichimoku cloud problem. It's just kind of stuck underneath the cloud here, underneath the top of the cloud here, I should say. But it's also finding support down here at the Tenkan and Kitchen here. I also like the fact that volume is coming back into CleanSpark, because initially you have a huge decline in volume over here, which makes me think this whole thing is probably reaccumulation. And right now you have picking up volume over here, and guess what happened when your volume picking up? Price went up, right? So I think that we're just simply consolidating sideways. So down here, we're finding a lot of support down here below. And if we're able to push through the weekly Ichimoku cloud and we're able to push into the monthly Ichimoku cloud, I really think $40 is going to be probably where it's going to gravitate to. Now, looking at some of the other things I generally look at here too, which would be the Gann chart here. You can see there, it got rejected up here, this Gann arc over here, came back down, back to this Gann arc down here, was able to find support, and now I think it's going to bring graphic up to around 19 to 20 bucks, somewhere around there. It's probably going to go up, and it's probably going to push through this arc over here, especially since the volume is increasing. I think we're building up a lot of energy to try and push through up here above, right? Now, in addition to it being a Ichimoku cloud problem on the monthly and the weekly here, what other problems do we have? Well, actually not much, because a very, very bullish thing, like why do I think it's going to hit and push through the arc up here, is because it came back down and back tested. It got rejected here, first of all, the 0.786, log fib level here. Came back down to 2 fib levels, back to 0.5, found a perfect bounce over here, pushed through the 0.618 over here on pretty high volume, and back tested it very, very nicely with a bunch of wicks below, right? Because of this, I think it's going to gradually up to 0.786 here again, and I think it's going to graduate up to the arc up here again, and I think we're building up a lot of energy really to try and push through it this time. Whenever it pushes through, whenever it gets up to the $21 level, you're able to push through 21.5, you're able to push through the arc up here. Then you're talking about some of the higher stuff here, like $30 here on a weekly, $30 here on 0.886. If it pushes through that, then again, the monthly is Ichimoku Cloud top level here is going to be, actually, depends on where it hits, right? If it hits up here, it's going to be 40, right? If it hits down here, it's going to be around 21.5, which, again, is basically where the 0.786 is located, right? So if you're able to push through these levels, if you're able to push through the 0.786, push through the 0.86, which is also coincidentally where the again horizontal line is also located at, then you're talking about some of the higher levels up above, which I think could potentially hit this cycle whenever it goes. Like CleanSpire is one of those charts that whenever it goes, it can really go up in a hurry. And we've been building a lot of energy over here for the last year or so. So I'm actually quite bullish on CleanSpark. I've reaccumulated at the bottom of this range here in the teens. I've reaccumulated whenever it got down here to the single digits. I'm not buying anymore. I'm just going to let it do its thing. So those are my CleanSpark thoughts. If you want to know about the target, I've already kind of talked about the targets up here. 21.5, $30. After that, beats the previous cycle high. Then you talk about some crazy targets up here around like the 70s, around like the 100, around 160. Those are potential targets to push up above. I can go higher, but there's no point of doing that. I think it's a little bit premature to call those, but we'll see how it goes, right? Mara. What problem does Mara have? Again, Mara does not have a Bollinger Band problem, right? On the monthly, it's not overextended. On the weekly, it's not overextended. It was last week, but it's no longer overextended. It's very, very nicely expanding here on the monthly upper Bollinger Band with more room for it to go up. On the weekly, it's also nicely expanding too, right? All of this stuff is actually very bullish. Well, what kind of problem does Mara have? Very similar to CleanSpark. It does have a little bit of Ichimoku Cloud problem here on the monthly. On the weekly, it does not have the Ichimoku Cloud problem here. It got above the weekly Ichimoku Cloud, and it looks like it's a little bit more ready than CleanSpark to kind of go up higher. Well, what other problem could it potentially have? Actually, not much, because you also have done what like CleanSpark was doing, pushed through the 0.618 here, and then back tested it with pretty decent volume too. High volume breakthrough of the 0.678 level, and then a little bit of a back test here. This is a bullish chart. This is a very bullish chart. I have nothing really bearish to say about this, and I think that it wants to probably gravitate up here. Initially got rejected here, and again line over here around 34, right? I think we're probably going to push through that. We're probably going to hit 41.28 at the 0.786 level before we see any major resistance, and that could happen over the next couple months or so. I think it's gonna do some pretty good things. Now, you do have an Ichimoku Cloud problem here on a monthly, right? You do have a little bit of rejection here last month, right? Around 31, I would say. If we're able to push through the cloud, then we're gonna hit 0.786 here. That's gonna be the next very strong resistance level here, because that's also the top of the cloud, and 0.786 Fibonacci level here on log scale, right? That's going to be a very confluent zone, resistance zone, because we're breaking above that. Then you're talking about some of the potential not all-time high, but some of the potential highs here that breaks this last cycle high here, if we ever break about the 0.786. you're talking about some of the higher levels here in the triple digits, like 181, 325, somewhere like that. A little bit too premature to talk about. We're still underneath some resistance levels here. The next big battle is going to be 0.786, around $41. Before we get there, though, we have to break through the Ichimoku cloud here before we get there. So we'll see what happens. But this is a bullish chart. Like, there's really, honestly, nothing really that bearish about it, because it's using 20-month moving average here as support. It's reclaiming the Tenkan Kijun here on the Ichimoku. And it looks like it just kind of want to go higher. On the Super Ichi cloud, it already broke inside the Super Ichi cloud, where it got rejected over here, both by the Kijun line and the bottom of the Super Ichi cloud. You push through and you basically back tested the Super Ichi cloud as well as the Kijun here almost perfectly. So it looks like it wants to go higher. I don't have any concerns over this chart here at all. Currently, the risk-reward ratio for Mara is pretty decent. Another thing I also want to show is the 2-month Ichimoku cloud, where the last cycle high, it was resistance, and now we flipped the 2-month Ichimoku cloud from resistance here to support. The green line here is the immature bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. Here, we've really reclaimed the cloud, right? So I think some of the higher targets up here is possible, like maybe, again, like $41, $42 is going to be a resistance zone, right? Because that's where the Kijun is at right now. On the 2-month as well, right? On the monthly, that's where the top of the Ichimoku cloud is located. So a lot of confluence zone over here to kind of talk about. $41, $42 is going to be strong resistance for Mara. We'll see what happens when it gets there, right? Bitfarms, stuck in a range, but again, nothing bearish about Bitfarms. I think a lot of people are just bitter because it's not doing much when Bitcoin is doing a lot, right? But it's serving its own technicals. Backtesting the rising 20-minute moving average, tons of wicks down here below. This is not a chart that I'm concerned about. I think Bitfarms is going to do pretty decent. It does not have a Bollinger Band problem. If anything, the weekly Bollinger Band looks like it's squeezing. It's reclaiming the 20-week moving average, and it's reclaiming the support band. Lots of wicks down here below. I think whenever it's done squeezing, the move's going to be pretty powerful to the upside whenever it's done doing its thing, right? If you're also looking at the weekly chart here, I did have a Gann chart here drawn, and I think what the Gann here is really showing you is how price is kind of consistently getting rejected here at the lower arc over here. We have not really had a single week that have closed inside the arc until this week, right? We finally closed back inside the arc. I think this arc has to be broken, and once this arc gets broken, then you're talking about the arc up here, right? But we're not quite, done with that quite just yet. If we're able to break through this arc, then we're hitting this arc up here, and I think there's a very confluence around $5. That's going to be equivalent to $41, $42 for Mara. For Bitfarms, it's going to be $5. That's going to be a strong resistance zone up here. If you're able to break through the 0.618, which we failed to do last time, but if you're able to break through 0.618, then you're talking about 0.6 is also going to be the bottom of this Ichimoku cloud around $3. Breaking 3, talking about 5. Breaking 5, talking about some some all-time high stuff. If you ever break about 5, right? You're talking about breaking about $5. Then you talk about some of the higher levels could potentially be hit. It also has a Ichimoku cloud problem here on the weekly. It's still trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud here. As well as the monthly, you have a Tenkan here as a little bit of a resistance here, right? But overall, it's still a bullish chart. It still looks like it's a higher low. Lots of wicks down below tells me that there's a strong energy that's building up here. Probably going to push further upside here because of the way that the 20 moving average is looking right now, to probably push price up a lot higher over time. So that's Bitfarms. Talking about, I'm going to talk a few more. I'm going to end the show here. It's already close to 30 minutes. Anyway, CIFR, real quick, what's it doing? Does it have a Bollinger Band problem? It does have a little bit of a Bollinger Band problem here, which is why it's having a hard time kind of pushing up a lot higher this month. But it's expanding to the upside and downside. 20 moving average is pointing up. It does not have a Bollinger Band problem here on the weekly. Bollinger Band is still expanding to upside and downside. So for all, this chart wants to go up a lot higher, right? What about Ichimoku? Way about the Ichimoku, no problem here on the weekly and the monthly, right? Let me show you what I have for the Gann chart and the FIB level. Something very, very bullish is happening with CIFR. First of all, because it has really broke through this arc over here, which has had a hard time breaking through the arc here for the entire year of 2023, but it broke through above that for real here in November, and it's been back testing the horizontal again over that level over here. Tons of wick down below, and we have challenged the 0.786 fit level here once, got rejected. Now we had a little bit of false breakout here, and right now we're having a second time where we have a weekly candle that is closing about the 0.786. Now, if this is not a false breakout, and I don't think it is, because you really spent a few weeks trying to push through this level, and you're really able to push through this level in the week above that again, right? If that's the case, then I think $10 is going to be the next level. The arc over here is going to be the next level around $12. If you're able to push through all that, but really if you're able to convincingly close about the 0.786, then I think $38, $70, all these targets are possible for CIFR. Depending on how parabolic it moves, it can even hit some of the higher targets, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it. I just think that it has to break through 0.786 before some really bullish things can happen. But it's still not happening quite just yet. So the CIFR, I'm bullish. I have a position. IREN, something also very, very bullish is happening. Now, I'm going to turn off the indicator. I'm going to go through it systematically, talk about this IREN have a Bollinger Band problem. A little bit, but it's not like way outside over upper Bollinger Band like it was over here. Got like a tweezer top over here, got a trident bottom over here, range bound here for about 5 months, and it's able to push up again, right? 20-minute moving average very nicely going up. Upper Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band expansion happening again, allowing price to go up higher over time. This is a very nice chart, but it's a little bit overextended, but not too much. If you look at Ichimoku, it's already about the Tenkan Nikkei here on the monthly. It's already way above the Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly. Had a bullish cross here on the weekly. Nothing bearish about it, right? Something also very, very bullish has also happened, which is the fact that it's closing another week about the 0.786 like it did over here. That was a false breakout, obviously. So I like to see it probably just kind of consolidate here, maybe for another couple of weeks or so, between this arc over here, which we got rejected off the arc here almost perfectly this past week. And if you're able to push about this arc, which I think you might end up needing another couple of weeks before pushing up, but you're able to push about this arc, who knows, maybe next week it's like, I don't care, I'm just going to go to the 0.86 up here, around $19. Then if you're able to push through the 0.86, if IREN is able to close above 0.86, then you're talking about some like pretty sick stuff up here. Like I'm talking about the GAN up here around like the 40s, the GAN horizontal line up here around the 65 range, or even some like pretty high, like pretty sick, like triple digits gain up here, right around 110, 111, maybe even some higher levels it could potentially be hit, right? But we're at resistance right now. This is a very strong resistance zone. Once we're able to break above the confluence of resistance zone, I would say once we're able to really close about 19.35, somewhere around there, then you're talking about some pretty crazy all-time high stuff, and things can get pretty parabolic. The Bollinger Bands are allowing it to happen, so never say never. WULF, where's WULF doing right now? Well, WULF is having some problems because of how bullish it looks. It is having some problems, not so much on the weekly here on the Bollinger Band, but on the monthly here on the Bollinger Band. You have a lot of wicks up above because you're just simply way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. But guess what? It's expanding to the upside and it's still expanding to the downside. There are really not any significant sign for exhaustion. I think that WULF wants to keep going. It's just a little bit overextended. It needs probably time for it to push up higher. Now, because it's way out, not way outside, because it's above the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly, you're going to also end up having some problems here with it trying to build up a lot of energy, trying to do a little bit of ascending triangle to break through a 0.618 fit level here, which has been strong resistance. But you're talking about WULF has already broke through arc after arc after arc, right? Came back down perfectly, back tested 0.382 fit level, didn't really back test the arc down here below, and then push through the arc. Where is it at right now? 0.618, natural resistance level. Push through that, $17. Push through that, some pretty sick levels up here. Do I think that WULF was going to hit like triple digits? I don't think so, because it's just insane for him to think about the fact that it was just like 50 cents around March 2023. You're talking about like 3 digits. Like that's a lot of energy is being expended, but never say never, right? I do think that some of the levels up here is going to get getting hit. $17, $26. We'll see how it reacts. If it makes more all-time highs, maybe the cycle will end around like $70. I think that's also possible, right? Push through multiple Gann arc levels. That might be where it ends. I don't know. All I know is a very bullish chart. BTBT, also extremely bullish to me as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to turn off these indicators here. Looking at the weekly Bollinger Band, you don't have a weekly Bollinger Band problem, not overextended. It's expanding. Monthly, you don't have a monthly Bollinger Band problem. It's not overextended. The upper Bollinger Band is expanding to the upside, allowing price to go up a lot higher over time, right? If you're talking about the Ichimoku cloud here, you are having a lot more room. It's about the Tenkan Kijun, back tested both. So probably going to run up to the Ichimoku cloud here around like $9, right? On the monthly, on the weekly, already above the weekly Bollinger Band. Looks like it back tested Tenkan. Looks like it wants to go a lot higher. Well, what's stopping it from going higher? You're at again horizontal resistance level here. That's been very, very strong resistance, and currently we got rejected last week here almost perfectly. Break above this 4.8, 4.9 zone, you get to 0.618, around $6.8. After that, break through the arc, get to $13.63. Then you're talking about some potential like higher, like some crazy stuff up here around the 30s, 40s, 80s. I think it's possible for BTBT because it's been consolidating sideways here for a very long time. Now, what's so different about what's happening now? Well, volume is increasing. During the entire uptrend over here, volume has been increasing. It looks like we've had a lot of reaccumulation over here. It looks like it wants to break above. It looks like it wants to push through all these levels up here to potentially get to all-time high stuff. But before it does that, we're underneath a lot of resistance here. So just chill. I'm not really adding to BTBT anymore, but it's still a very bullish chart to me. I don't mind adding here, but I just have other priorities. I'm going to tell the members here that are members on YouTube in terms of what I'm doing. But CORZ, I don't really have like a Fibonacci extension level to like work with, but it simply got rejected off the Gann arc over here, like almost perfectly, right? I think it's probably going to end up finding support here on the angle. It's probably going to end up consolidating sideways here for a little bit before pushing up higher on the weekly chart over here. On the Bollinger Band, you don't really have a Bollinger Band problem here anymore on the weekly. Initially, it was a little bit overextended. I think CORZ is going to do okay. It's also been kind of going up a little bit on a little bit of a bearish divergence here, but I think it's fine. Like things can keep going up on bearish divergence. I don't really care. I don't have a position in CORZ because I can't do like cycle analysis on it because it got bankrupt last cycle and it came back, and there's just not enough history for me to really like chart very well. So I'm not in CORZ. Now, RIOT, what do I think about RIOT? If I don't use any of these indicators, what do I think about RIOT? Is this a bullish chart or is it a bearish chart? Look at a monthly. The answer to your question is I think it's bullish because it's really been flipping the 20-month moving average back from resistance here to support, right? You're on upper Bollinger Band, you're at the upper part of the Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band looks like it's starting to expand. I think it favors further bullish continuation. I think this is it's not a bullish chart to me, right? Reclaiming the Tenkan and Kijun, you did have a little bit of bearish crossover here, but reclaiming the Tenkan and Kijun, I think it's going to hit the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here. And very, very similar to the other chart that I was showing you, like Mara and Clean Spark. The top of the monthly Bollinger Band, which is going to be very strong resistance, is also coinciding with the 0.786 here level over here, which means that you'll be able to push through all this junk over here around the low 20s, a lot of resistance down here. Then you're talking about $40 being a very strong resistance level up above, right? $40 here on the top of Ichimoku cloud. Going to be a very strong resistance level up above. I think it's built up enough energy for price to go up a lot higher to get to that level. Especially, I think Bitcoin's going to like 175 to 200K is possible. I think RIOT has enough for it to go to like $40. And that's also going to be a very strong resistance level over here, right? Look how we got rejected over here for like 6-7 months. So I think RIOT's going to get there. I don't know, sometime in 2025. How it's going to react there, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it as that. HUD-8 has been very, very bullish. It's hitting the monthly cloud resistance here, which is why I think HUD might end up stalling compared to the other stuff now. You're going to see maybe the other stuff end up outperforming HUD here in the short term because it's hitting some very, very strong resistance here on the monthly Ichimoku cloud. It's also getting to, let me see here. It's also getting to some pretty important levels up here on the flip level here too. It's able to push through through the 0.618, which is good. That's a good sign, right? If I do a Gann chart though on the weekly, I just want to do this here real quick. I didn't really have one for HUD. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do that from is all-time low here. And I'm gonna do 360. And on here, I'm gonna do 10. And let me see if I can see any good market symmetry here. I see some pretty decent market symmetry over here. I like the fact that it's broken above the angle, got rejected at an angle over here, right? Broke above and back testing it. But I think that it's probably going to, let me see here. It's probably going to push through into the Ichimoku cloud here, but it might take a month or two before doing so. After that, I think that, let me see here, and then go back to the weekly here, turn off the Ichimoku. After that, I think it's gonna hit some of the resistance levels here up above. And I think that there's a potential over the next month or two that it might end up getting stalled around high 30s to low 40s. That's kind of where I'm seeing. After it breaks through the monthly Ichimoku cloud, right? So yeah, it might end up having a little bit of deceleration here because we're hitting some strong resistance on up above. But this is a bullish chart. There's nothing bearish about it. HIVE, and I'm going to talk about BTDR. I'm going to end the show here because it's been 40 minutes. Honestly, HIVE is a bullish chart because if you're looking at the Bollinger Band, it's doing a lot of very similar thing as RIOT, as BTBT. Flipping the 20-minute moving average from resistance here to support. Looks like the upper Bollinger Band wants to go up, but it's probably going to be a little bit of a laggard because you just can't have HIVE going up a lot higher without the Bollinger Band expanding, right? It's just starting to do that. So HIVE's probably going to be like a little bit of a late cycle boomer kind of thing. Reclaiming the Tenkan Kishin here, this is bullish. Have a lot more room to go up to the lower part of the Ichimoku cloud here around $9.5. Right, I think it's probably going to take months before you can go up there because the monthly Bollinger Band needs to expand before it, does any sustainable move upwards. But this is also a bullish chart. Looking at the Gann and also the looking at the Gann level, also looking at the Fibonacci retracement levels here, you can see why HIVE is lagging behind. It's stuck in a resistance range over here, right? Stuck in a Gann horizontal line here, stuck underneath the 0.382, which is a very important Fibonacci level. But it's also finding support, strong support here at the Gann arc as well as the Gann angle, right? So it's stuck in a range here. Probably going to consolidate sideways over here before pushing up higher. And that's also, I'm going to give it time for the Bollinger Band to continue to expand over time to allow price to go up higher. The Bollinger Band is not allowing it to do that quite just yet, right? BTDR, what the heck is going on with BTDR? It's becoming extremely bullish. It's pushing the upper Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band up and down on the monthly. On the weekly, it's doing the same thing. It's very, very impulsive. Like, is this something that you would want to enter? The answer to me is no, because I think that it's getting to the point it's hitting some pretty strong resistance level up here. At the 1.2336 level here, got rejected off that almost perfectly confluent with this Gann arc over here, right? So because it's kind of a little bit overextended here, it's also hitting some strong resistance here. I'm not going to buy BTDR. It's probably going to end up consolidating sideways here from here on out. But again, I'm not deterministic about it. It's a bullish chart. It's just formed a higher high. I just wouldn't buy up here because the risk-reward ratio is just not there for me whenever it's like way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly. Could it just push through and just keep going up higher? Sure it can, right? But you're hitting resistance. I just don't want to gamble and saying it's just going to push through the confluence zone resistance at 1.236 level and the Gann arc, right? And also it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band. It's just not there for me. Anyway, man, you've survived through a 45-minute video. I hope you enjoyed this. I haven't talked about this for a long time. I just want to kind of take my time to talk about them. But yeah. I'm back. You guys take care. Have a good one. Bye.